Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Hercules, and I'm the CEO and founder of Hercules Innovative Technology Solutions, HITS for short, and I am your moderator for this evening's Black Women in Cybersecurity initiative. As mentioned in our last masterclass, we're expanding the masterclass to talk about cybersecurity and beyond, and talking about areas that integrate and work with cybersecurity. And so for today, I am extremely excited to present our guest speaker. I, for one, already have my notepad open and ready because law and cybersecurity integration is something I need to perfect a little bit more. And so Nicole Gaither, who is an attorney at SageHaus Legal, will be walking us through all these things that we need to understand about intellectual property, trademarking, copywriting, patents. And so I know a lot of times these are some things that we overlook. And so, Nicole, I want to thank you in advance for the education that I will gain this evening. And I would love to pivot over to you for you to provide an introduction.
Yes, thank you. My name is Nicole Gaither. I'm a trademark copyright attorney with SageHaus Legal, LLP. I am originally from Louisiana, so I'm a licensed attorney in Louisiana, and I practice federal law. So I can, I work with clients all over the world, pretty much who have U.S.-based, intellectual property matters like registration, enforcement, monitoring, finding ways to make money from their intellectual property, all those things. And I am one of 3 Black women partners. We're part of SageHaus Legal, LLP. So yes, we set up our own law firm last August. So we are almost coming up on our 1-year anniversary.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Yes. And we focus on working with business owners, like Black women entrepreneurs who are in the growth phases of their businesses, who are also looking to protect that intellectual property, find out ways that they can make money from it. We focus, we do estate planning as well, and then also business, like operations contracts, because we're pretty much looking at them as a way to combine all of those matters so that we are protecting and building wealth and accumulating it and finding ways for you to be able to build a legacy so that we can kind of close that wealth gap that we have in our community.
Well, and let me just pause again to say congratulations, because one, it's a major accomplishment to have your own law firm, and then for it to be led by 3 Black women. That's amazing. And I know a lot of times when it comes to legal counsel, sometimes it's hard to find representation and individuals that look like you, that you will feel safe to speak with about just starting your business or just putting your contracts together. And so I definitely want to hone in on that. And so for anyone in the audience that's starting a business, looking at contracts, or just kind of confused about just the legal jargon because it's confusing, please definitely use Nicole as a resource. Another thing I forgot to mention, we're doing something different this evening. And so because Nicole is a professional, she also has a presentation deck that we could pivot to when and if she wants to. But again, congratulations on your 1-year mark.
Thank you, Michelle. I guess we can just start with the presentation, because I would love for us to kind of use that as a way of just opening a conversation and discussion on these things.
Excellent. Let's go.
All right. So we are ready. We can move past the intro slide. And of course, since we're focusing on Black women who are entering the cyberspace, I want people to understand, the legal landscape that they might, face as they grow. And, if they're developing and establishing businesses, there are definitely some fundamentals that you need to be aware of as you do that. And this is where it's so important, because some people, we're going to talk about it, because I know when we were chatting about preparing for this, the whole thing we were also talking about was, when should you consult with an attorney on these matters?
Yes.
So the big 3, and I'm going to go through the 3, they're considered basic, but they're not really that basic. If you don't have these 3 things together, and they're rocky, shaky, like the whole house is going to fall down.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about why it's very important to have an attorney involved in these processes. And so, of course, the why is pretty much how an attorney can help you so you focus on your skills and you don't, lose your everything because you decided to shortcut the legal department in your business.
And Nicole, if I could even just interject here, I know sometimes it can become discouraging, right? So you can be an expert in your field of cyber or whatever it may be. And then when it comes to just like the administrative or legal or even accounting, sometimes it can make you discouraged, right? And so I think that I like the point that you're bringing up, that it's okay to lean on someone else when you know that you have a shortcoming in this area, or even if you don't know, getting help sooner helps. So,
yes. It's so much, like it's much better to be proactive, especially when it comes to these areas, than reactive, because reactive can cost you money.
A lot
of money. And of course, because I'm an attorney, I have to give the disclaimer. I call it the buzzkill. Like, everybody's having fun up until I'm like, back it up. Let's talk about the legal side of this. I just have to let you all know, of course, because I am an attorney, I am not providing legal advice through this presentation. It is just legal. I'm giving you a legal education and information so that you can make informed decisions when you are working with an attorney, and that you at least have a basis for the questions that you should be asking, and not for you to be, I'm not advising you to go do this on your own based on what's in this presentation, because the law changes. And some of this is based on, state law. Some of it's based on federal law. Mm-hmm. I am only licensed in Louisiana, so I cannot tell you what is being done in California. It's a lot from what I understand, because one of my partners is licensed there, but that is not my area. I will have a felony charge if I were to give you California legal advice. I don't like jail. I don't think orange is my color, so I'm not trying to be there. So that's the deal.
And we appreciate just the education, the educational knowledge that you'll provide. So not consultation, but education.
Exactly. Consultations are separate. They're available, but of course they involve providing legal advice to your specific situation. So it's applying the law to the facts that you are presenting, not hypos, because I know people come with hypos and I'm like, please don't send me a hypo. I need, like, if we're going to schedule something, let's just have a chat and like you can figure it out, like, what is really happening. And again, I know when we had talked about doing this, I came up with this. I kind of like the title. However, one of my friends was like, I can't believe you're going to say that. I was like, I feel like it just needs to be mentioned. So excuse me, you all, like my allergies and asthma are acting up. So you might hear my voice going in and out.
Same here.
This is what I really want to call this masterclass, because I think it's time that we just be honest. Brad and Chad have been knowing how to accumulate wealth because it's being passed down from generation to generation in their family. Like, it's pretty much almost passive income. I mean, investments were made in the past, and their family is very aware, well aware of how to use their resources and assets to make more money. Mm-hmm. It's, we could go through everything and every reason why we're not at that same level. I mean, we can talk about systemic racism. We can talk about, of course, going back, slavery and beyond. Mm-hmm. But, and it's not to discount it, because it's still important, and there's still things that need to be done to resolve and, get us on that footing where we can all be, and I can't even say a level playing field, but like get us where we can at least get to. And I'm not a DEI expert, so forgive me when I use equity and equality in the wrong ways, but we at least want to be able to play the same game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So. No, absolutely. It's never too early to focus on your generational wealth, and it's what you know. And right. So yes.
And it goes beyond just working for someone else. Like, mm-hmm. we're not in that stage where our parents and grandparents were, where they worked for the same company. And again, this is probably more for the populations that don't look like us, where they worked for like Ford or like, companies that have been in existence for a while, and they started from the ground up. Sorry, somebody is calling me.
It's okay. No, but to your point, we've shifted, right? There's been a shift from staying in certain organizations. The goal was to stay there for 20 to 25 to 30 years. The younger generation, they're hopping and skipping. So you're lucky if someone stays at an organization for 2 years. They're building their portfolio and then moving on to the next opportunity that meets what they're looking for.
Right. And they're also not really sticking around for, multiple reasons. It's not just like, I'm going to collect a pension, which, back then it was based on a pension.
Nothing wrong with a pension, right?
Nothing wrong with it. Like, I kind of wish that was still in existence. However, it's new times, and now I have to take the money that you've given me, or like you're going to set aside for me, and invest it in hope that I don't lose it by the time I am, 45. So
sure.
This is why people are like, well, maybe entrepreneurship is the route I should be taking. So if that is something that you're considering, then you definitely need to be aware of the basics, like these 3 things. I put this here and I'm going to explain. The first one is related to making sure that the client who is so angry with you that they file a lawsuit, that they don't get your car, your house, retirement, kids' college fund, all your record collection, and your CDs and your grandma's cookbook. This is because, and we can get to the next slide, businesses, and you can operate a business on your own. Like, you start selling something, you have a business. However, the important thing is protecting your personal assets and making sure that they are completely separate from your business assets. So like your personal, your house, your car, your bank account, everything that you own that is related to your personal life, you do not want to mix or ever meet with your business life. So this is where a few people tend to see how difficult life can be if you don't really know what you're doing in this area, or you just don't take the steps or the time to learn what is important. And it's not to say that you're required to have an entity form. It's a good idea, and it's a much better plan. And of course, because of the protection of your personal assets, like they will not be used to pay off business debts or liabilities. There's some, if it's just a side hustle and you're, I was going to say Lulu Row, but like if you're just, maybe you're doing some like multi-level marketing, if that's still in existence, I don't suggest that. You might be a sole proprietorship. I don't recommend that. But if it's just something you're doing on the side on the weekends, maybe your sole proprietorship is all you need. Again, there are caveats with that. Same goes for a partnership, and I'm kind of working backwards here. Partnership, you and like your friend or your sister get together and start selling, you now have a partnership. You didn't even need to have anything on paper. It's just 2 people came together and decided they're going to go into business together and start selling. So, once again, a partnership, unless you have formalized it, and what I mean by formalized is just filing something with the state to state that this is the entity that we're going to be using in order to conduct business. And in most states, partnerships are not really an entity that you can form. They're just, they're operation of law. Like, you get together, you start selling. Corporations, these have, this is where we start filing paperwork, and we're, filing with the Secretary of State or your Department of Corporations, wherever, whatever it is in your state, because again, these are state law specific. Corporations have, requirements. You can't just you can be your own person, but you also need to make sure that you're, checking the boxes, because they're going to be formalities that are required in order for your corporation to stay on the up and up. Like you have a board meeting, like maybe you're the only board member, but you still have to document that you had a meeting and you took minutes, which yes, it sounds wild, but these are the things. Like if you're going to take that step and set up a corporation, then you need to make sure that you follow the requirements for a corporation. And if you're just starting out, a corporation is probably not where you want to start. However, if you do have plans to eventually take on investors, or if you're working with other people, there are certain reasons and aspects of why, like, each one of these is good for your business. So there's the pros and the cons. Again, this is when you want to consult with an attorney to assist you and educate you and guide you on the legal aspects of all of these different types of entities. And you also want to connect with your CPA, who can advise you and provide the tax implications to you based on what you're choosing.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of confusion takes place when you put your onus on your accountant, right? So when you're saying, my accountant told me I should do a LLC versus, or maybe I should do a corporation because I'll be able to do this. It is very important to touch base with someone from a legal standpoint so they can actually look at where you are from a scale standpoint. So I love that you touched upon, like, really be honest about where you are, be clear about where you want to go, but seek the advice of your legal counsel, your accountant, tax account. It's more than just a guessing game.
Right. And if you were, and I'm not bashing. Oh, can we go back? I just want to say one thing about, I don't want to bash LLC Twitter or, what I call, Instagram University, or my favorite, Google School of Law.
Yeah, I follow.
Yeah. Yes, it's pretty simple and pretty cheap to set up a limited liability company. You can go tonight and go to your Secretary of State website, go click on whatever it is that's required for you to log in, say that you're going to be selling popsicles outside, at whatever address, hopefully it's legal where you're going to be doing that. Not everyone, again, needs that LLC. Yes, it is. It's one of the things that we recommend, especially if you are going to be working on your own and you're starting out, because it's one of the easiest entities to maintain, because they're not all those same corporate, the requirements for a corporation. But you also can't just go fill out the paperwork and hope that you got it right, because if you got something wrong, you could possibly, once again, end up not having your car, your house, your kids' college fund, your kids' new, just putting your personal assets at risk.
I'm glad you mentioned that as well, Nicole, because what you mentioned in the beginning is being well aware about legal implications, but then your monetary implications as well, right? Like if you don't file accordingly, or if you're supposed to meet a certain threshold, I think that these are things that sometimes when you're new, you don't have all that insight, and you probably haven't contacted the appropriate contact to get that. And so you don't want a situation where the IRS is coming for you later, like, hey, send me your PayPal statements or whatever it may be, to ensure that you don't get audited.
Right. And one of the things people do is, yes, you set up that limited liability company. You got your website set up. You got all the social media, domains and platforms, like you're advertising your business. But you want me to pay you to your personal PayPal account? Like, no, not happening, number one. Number two, you just broke all the reasons why you set up that limited liability company. It was not just for you to say that you have an LLC and just brag about it. It's literally to limit your liability, which also means that you're not supposed to be using your personal assets or personal things, like your personal bank accounts. Like, anything like those, as I said, treat them like church and state.
Mm-hmm.
And never should the two meet.
Whew, that was a
We
good
don't
punch.
want them to meet.
So again, I think the point is made that it's very important to understand when you're putting together your business, your budget, how you plan on receiving money, making sure that you get the appropriate counsel so you're not surprised.
Exactly. All right, we can move on to the next one. Yet again, it's all fun and games when we're just starting out and we're all getting along, and it's like, hey, I am going to work with you and we're going to put together this great little project because you sell. And of course, as I mentioned, I didn't mention it. I work with a lot of beauty brands, like I work with candle makers, cosmetic companies, home goods, lifestyle brands, also people in the service industry, such as like DEI coaches, also artists. The one thing that I keep impressing upon them, and I have a client who I have to scream at probably on a weekly basis, love him, but he will let me know, hey, I'm doing a deal with so-and-so. And I was like, okay, great. Let me look at the contract. Oh, I don't have a contract. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. How are you doing this deal? Like, you shook a hand? Like, I hope it, like, it's no. The days of the handshake deal are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the time when you should have a contract in place in writing is at the time when this deal is being set forth and before it takes place. Because it almost never fails. This is the reason why Judge Judy has so many spinoffs. Someone will go into business or they'll, have some kind of, transaction, and there's no written documentation of what might happen if something goes wrong. And also coming from an intellectual property standpoint, if your intellectual property, and we're going to talk about the different types, if any of that is involved in this transaction, you need to make sure it's protected. And the only way that can be done is through a written contract.
And so in the contracting space or like information technology space, I know sometimes you'll see like a MOU, like a memorandum of understanding, or a SLA, a service level agreement, or a SOW. So are those different forms of contracts as well? Are those deemed as different forms of contracts? Because sometimes it displays the work time frame and the amount to be paid.
So like with the MOU, those are generally used in the the negotiation phase of when parties are going to be working together on another thing. Like they're going to work on a joint venture, like where the two companies are going to be working together to create some new product, new service, collaboration. So the MOU is not technically the contract; it is an agreement.
Okay.
It can also, it depends on, and this is a state law. And I will even say, this is not I don't handle contracts except for intellectual property type contracts.
Sure.
So when it comes to, these big deals with, two parties are coming together, they're going to be doing some kind of conference or anything like that, or something like that, I defer one to the partner who focuses on contracts because she can rip them to shreds. And, she knows them backwards and forwards because she also has a litigation background.
Sure.
So she knows when the contract goes wrong and what in that contract is probably going to go wrong when she sees it. So I go back to say that those memorandums of understanding are generally not viewed as the final contract or the final agreement, but they can sometimes be referenced in court if there is a dispute. But the judge is generally looking at what is contained in the four corners of that contract.
Good to know. Good information.
And my favorite, intellectual property.
Yes.
This is the bread and butter. It's my bread and butter, and it's your bread and butter, especially if you are creating things, you're selling things, you are running your business, everyone has intellectual property. And it's just make sure that you know what it is, that you can identify it and know what to do with it, and also protect it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go on, like we can start.
Well, right. And I was going to say, if we go back to intellectual property, that slide one more time, with everything going on in the AI space, right? There's so much concern with new modules, new products, people really creating their companies based off of ChatGPT. The intellectual property space is going to become a little bit more complicated, right? Do you foresee that? It's already. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can kind of talk about it in the copyright realm, because that's where we're seeing it, especially as it comes to like AI generated artwork and content. There was some AI related matter with patent, and I will preface this to say I am not a patent attorney. I took patent law as a part of a whole intellectual property course. To be a patent attorney, you are required to have a science background or, science engineering. They might be opening it to like industrial design, but I don't have that science background. So I did not become a patent attorney. And plus you are required to take a patent bar in order for you to be able to practice in front of the United States Patent and Trademark Office as a patent attorney.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So if someone tells you that they can help you file your patent, ask them what their bar number is.
Helpful fun fact.
Yes. And make sure they're an attorney. You can work with a patent agent. So that's one thing. There are patent agents who they're also scientists, engineers, but they're not attorneys. So they are able to, as far as I know, this is still true. They can assist and also file patent applications. But Joe Schmo, who says that he's a family lawyer, should not be filing your patent application if he's not a patent attorney.
Helpful information.
Okay. Oh, and so I guess we should also understand what a patent is. So a patent generally is, long story short, it is an exclusive license that the government is giving you in order to be able to exploit what you've invented. So lots of words to say. If you created something, get it in a, qualifies for patent protection if it's like useful, it's novel, it's innovative, or it builds upon something else, or it's like there are 3 types of patents. Like there are plant patents, which relate to like different plant species that are created. There are design patents that protect like the actual appearance and design of an item. Like for example, I want to say, I think it's expired, but the famous Birkin handbag had, I'm sure it's expired. So someone can, correct me if they look it up, but it had a design patent on it. Your iPhone probably has several patents and constantly going to have improved one. They're going to be creating new ones because they're improving upon it daily. So patents protect inventions. A lot of people, most business owners do not have patents in their business. So it's okay if you don't have one, it's fine. You will live. However, you probably do have something that's protected by copyright. Copyright, the main thing just to remember, it protects like creative works. So think of artwork, poetry, songs, like if you're doing an e-course or videos, like your blog, your website, anything that contains content that it just even has like a minor amount of creativity involved in it is protected by copyright. And this is where we're seeing a lot of the AI cases because people are using, artificial intelligence, putting in prompts in these programs. Like, I want to get a logo made with a duck that is I made a joke with a friend. I was like, that's dressed like Tony Montana was in Scarface at the nightclub. And, if we put that in, what will we get out? And you'll get something that probably will resemble what you put in. The problem is all of that prompt has used other people's intellectual property.
Yeah.
And it's been trained on it and it's pulling it. And I want to say, it is not true that if it's on the internet, it's free for you to use. That is not
dangerous.
Like that. That's not the public domain. Like there's probably a good chance that if you find something on the internet, if it's someone's photograph or if it's their artwork or anything like that, it's probably still protected by copyright and owned by somebody. And whether or not they've registered it or not, copyright protection is automatic. So registration is not required, but there are benefits to it.
Interesting.
Yes. And trademark is my second favorite because copyright is my passion. Trademarks, these are the ways that we identify goods and services. It's how I know that I'm wearing Nikes and I'm not wearing Adidas, because there are different aspects of those items that have, like there's a logo, there's the name, there's, Nike uses a slogan, just do it. I can't remember Adidas's slogan if I don't even know if they have a slogan, but those three stripes. Those three stripes are a registered trademark. Nike swoosh is a registered trademark. So trademarks are ways that we identify the source of goods and services. All of those items are considered brand assets. Almost anything that identifies your business can be a trademark. So beyond just business names and logos, slogans, those taglines, you can also have a sound as a trademark. Hers can be trademarks, like Tiffany Blue is a registered trademark. I mean, they're just anything. Like if there's something, like even if you don't even see the name on it and you know it, that's more than likely, it's considered a trademark.
Interesting.
Right. So these are the, again, people, I just want to make sure people are aware of the differences, because I know there's a lot of confusion because even the media, even the media, you're reading a news article and they will interchange copyright, trademark, and patent in the same exact article, and they're talking about only one of those areas. So
it's extremely confusing.
Yeah. And then, of course, trade secrets. We call these the secret sauce items. These are the things that are in your business that you want to keep confidential because they give you that competitive edge over others in the business. So be, a certain way that you provide training. It could be a customer list or vendor list. In the food space, of course, secret recipes, like Coca-Cola recipe is protected by a trade secret. The 13 herbs and spices that's in KFC chicken, I guess, because I eat Popeye, sorry y'all, but that's protected by a trade secret. And you'll sometimes hear about cases of trade secret theft, and companies are suing former employees who are trying to sell their secrets to the competitors for millions of dollars, because once that secret's out, that it's no longer a secret. There's nothing, it's gone. So that company now has to, deal with the fact that what kept them on the edge and, above their competitors is now just out there. So definitely want to be compensated when you lose that.
Absolutely.
And there's one other area, and it's a question of, we consider it to be an area of intellectual property, and I didn't touch on it here because it's not something that we generally see with business, small businesses. Name, image, and likeness rights.
You said image and likeness rights.
Yeah, so name, image, and likeness rights.
Okay.
You see the acronym NIL. a lot of, there's a lot of discussion that's been around it since especially college athletes have now been allowed to profit from the use of their name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the other areas that's coming more popular, because if you're going to use me or like my, I think it's wild, but just, endorsement deals, like brand deals, content.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because, right, when you think about the college athletes, I think that just went into play within like the past couple of years. And so there's an opportunity there, and I could see it expanding into other realms.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gray area when it comes to like your image, your name, your likeness, and then also everything with like social media, right? Like with now influencers and stuff. And so I'm glad you mentioned that. That was not on my radar. So
it's also one of the ways I don't know if people remember, like way back when we first started using Facebook, I was not an early adopter, but really some of the earlier adopters had posted photos on Facebook, and Facebook decided that they were going to use those photos in their advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question
I remember
is,
that.
Yeah. So did Facebook have a right to use your photo in their advertising? Like, did their license, just because you're using their platform, did it open them up to have a license to be able to use your stuff and to commercialize it? And then, so that became an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had the problem where companies were just taking like, oh, here's a cute photo of a kid that somebody took, like someone's child, and using it in an ad. You're like, that's my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I've actually, I've talked to an attorney who took a bathroom selfie. Like she was clothed. She was taking a selfie.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So she was just like, feeling myself, about to go to court. And literally posted it on Facebook. And probably a few years later, her sister was in a whole nother city and she found a billboard with her on there. Like that picture.
But it happens all the time. I know I had a friend who's in the beauty industry, and she's done like YouTube videos of like natural hair. And her picture has been used on dating websites, like that someone appearing to be her, or it's amazing how far like some videos or pictures can be used. Yeah. Even in like ads and flyers and yeah.
Yeah, and that's something also as a business owner you need to be aware of, that you can't just go grabbing photos from the internet and using them. You need to get permission. So this is why, there are stock photo websites that you can use. They're, royalty free.
Good point.
Where you can obtain the things that you need, like for your website, for your advertising. So you don't want to be on the receiving end of a lawsuit that I can't reveal any of the details, but if you don't really do your due diligence and you try to shortcut things, you don't want to receive a lawsuit asking you for $1 million because you decided, I was just going to take the shortcut route and, pay somebody this amount and hope that it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a problem that you don't want to have. And so, but Nicole, I don't know if we reached the end of your presentation. That was okay. So from there, I know for me, I took my notes. I learned a lot. Are you ready to take some questions from our audience, if you don't mind?
Sure. And I just have to put the disclaimer and the preference out there that if you do have a specific question that is related to like your specific matter, one, you should keep that confidential. So like you don't want to share it on this worldwide presentation here and masterclass that other people are going to see it. And then also two, I won't be able to answer it. So I hope you understand. All right.
So we have our first question. Do we have rights to things we create while working for an employer? This is a good question.
It really is, because it's going to depend. Generally, the way the law is, if you create things while working for an employer, especially if it's related to the work that you are doing, your employer owns that work. Even though they might not have known that you were doing it and they didn't tell you to do it. But if it's similar to the type of work that you're already doing and you created it, especially if you were using their equipment to do it, your employer more than likely owns it. Unless you have a contract that says that the things that you create on your own time that might be related to what your job is with us, you own that. But
you answered my follow-on question to that, because I know there's a lot of organizations that are trying to do entrepreneurship, right? So if an employee has a specific idea related to a product, or if an employee is bringing in, let's say, a service, then that organization is paying them for that product or service. That would fall outside of you created something on your company's platform or whatever it may be. Is there, and I may not be explaining it right, but is there a distinction between the two?
Well, in that case, the company, is treating the employee almost like it's another business, like almost a contractor. But then again, the question I would have is there a contract in place? Is the company ultimately, like, let's say you leave, who's going to own that service that you help create, that possible invention, that content? Is that spelled out in the contract? Like, is there a 50-50 deal? Like, are they going to own it and maybe you get royalties for life? Or is it, bye-bye, you left us and thanks for the content that you gave us, using it without you?
All good questions, and all things you should get an attorney to iron out when and if your relationship severs with that organization.
Or even before, when you're working with the organization and they presented this to you, then maybe you want to consult with an attorney to make sure that the agreement makes sense.
So this question is more in my side of the house. Okay. So Amy, I know that you said that you're interested in the cybersecurity and what steps you should take. And you just finished your first year in college. So steps you should take: definitely take all the cybersecurity courses that you can. And then also, ask your teachers about different certifications that you could get that are in alignment with your coursework. I would say if you're looking to do like work in the summertime, try to maybe even do like freelance work if there's an area that you are interested in. There's a number of entities that you could do work on, like Fiverr, Upwork, or you could also go to your local like temp agencies or contracting agencies, just to tell them that you are starting your career. You have knowledge from like book knowledge in this space, but you really have to figure out which lane of cybersecurity. Saying cybersecurity is extremely general. And so if there's a specific lane, like in cybersecurity compliance, cybersecurity operations, we were talking about AI, so cybersecurity in ensuring that the infrastructure levels are secure, really take time to hone into which specific area in cyber that you'd like to expand into. And then if you're going on the entrepreneurship route and you're creating your own IT consulting company or whatever it may be, consult an attorney on how you should do that, right? How you should form your contracts with, maybe if you're trying to work with a church or a local agency just to help them, make sure that you contact an attorney to come up with just your NDAs, your non-disclosures, or your contracts for that work. So that helps. Sorry, so Nicole, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
I think we'll probably address this, but I cannot emphasize enough, but yes, you probably could do all of these things on your own. You can set up your own LLC, as I mentioned. You can register your own trademark, your own copyright. I wouldn't suggest doing your own patent, and you might decide that you want to draft your own contract. I do not recommend that you do all these things, and it's not just because I'm a lawyer and I'm trying to make money from it. That's my livelihood, yes. However, I have seen, as we mentioned, the disaster that is created when people decide they're going to Frankenstein a contract and then not know exactly what that contract even says, because they decided that because this term had hereby and wherewithal and notwithstanding, and it sounded legal, it's something you should use. And it has nothing to do with what you're even dealing with. Like, why do you need this agreement about like a license when you're not even, there's nothing involved in this matter that involves a license? So if you don't even understand the area and you're just pulling things because it sounds nice and you were told that you needed to have this, that, and the other, you, again, should probably consult with an attorney before you do this, because if you end up going to court and you do have that written contract that you put together, the judge is going to, again, look at what's in the contract because it needs to be contained in those four corners. And it's going to hold it against you as the drafter, because you as the drafter should have understood what you were drafting.
Thanks, Nicole.
Oh, we missed that question.
So Nikki, if you could go back up to the prior question, I think the young lady mentioned that she got an LLC yesterday. And is taking cybersecurity classes. So this is a very vague, and so I would need to understand more related to like what your LLC was created for, in what area, if it is in the cybersecurity space, you're focusing on. Because if you're talking about doing contract work, then there's different advice I would give you for that. If you've created a product, or if you focus on coding, this is a question, at least for me, that I would address in like a mentorship one-on-one, just to get a little bit more detailed, just to steer you in the right direction. But I'm sorry, Nicole, I don't know if you want to take a stab at it.
No, I agree, because, again, as I've said, setting up your LLC, yes, LegalZoom, will assist you with that. However, the question is, LegalZoom is a document review service. All they're doing is taking the information that you put in the application and submitting that and filing it so that you get that LLC designation and the articles of organization. But if you, change what industry you're in, the question is like, does that LLC still work for you? Like there's so many nuances.
And I will say this, I want to say congratulations for taking the step to create an LLC. Again, I'd like to learn more just to be able to help you with this. And then, if you need some more guidance from like a Nicole, we could definitely schedule that. But I wish you the best of luck. You could definitely connect the two. Just need a little bit more understanding on the industry. Let's just switch careers into cybersecurity, mid-level. Mid-level. It's harder for us who are in a mid-level career, Byron. So harder, but not, right? So uniquely, we're in a phase where if you've been in a specific career, let's say in information security, if you've been coding, you can switch and you could use your transferable skill sets. There's a major effort going around related to upskilling and reskilling. And so all organizations, because there is such a gap in finding top tier cybersecurity talent, they are going into their organizations and they're creating upskilling or reskilling opportunities. There's a lot of organizations that are also creating like leadership exchange or rotational opportunities. For a mid-level career, if there's something that you know you want to work on, you have, and you've tapped into that realm a little bit, or you've gotten a certification, you can be very proactive in reaching out to the different area just to say, hey, I'd like to do like a leadership exchange or rotational opportunity to expand my portfolio of work. This is the direction within my career that I'd like to go into, and I'd like to, show and prove that I could move into this area. But again, if you wanted to talk about this in greater detail and come up with like a map, a career mapping, please sign up for a one-on-one mentorship meeting, and we could talk that through.
Yes, the roll wave. Yes, go to Lane.
So, Nicole, this is a copywriting AI question. I'll throw that over to you.
Okay. The question is, do you have thoughts on how to future-proof a copywriting career in the face of AI challenges? That I cannot answer that question for you right now because we are in just flux in this area, and it's like there's litigation ongoing right now where several people, like companies like Getty Images, photographers, artists, are suing AI platforms for the use of their content. As far as like a copywriting career, I get it because, again, I come from a career where people are like, LegalZoom can replace you. And not really, but, and that's,
yeah.
Right. And so like,
you always have to have a human-centric component to everything.
So that's going to be where you're probably going to have to emphasize the value of the fact that the computer is not going to be able to speak your voice, especially if you are targeting certain communities that the computer does not think about. So,
and I'll add to that from like from a regulatory compliance standpoint. There are projects underway to really try to figure out regulatory standards related to AI, and so it's good that you're thinking about this now. There's more to come. And so again, I would stay in contact with someone that's close to the area. So someone on the legal side, but then someone who is in the AI area. But I think it's a good area to pursue career-wise. As Nicole mentioned, there will always be a human component regardless to AI. We have to make sure the AI is structured right. And we've already noticed from the cybersecurity side, what they call poison scripts going into AI, right? So there's always going to be an element to fix. And so good luck with that. Again, if you need mentorship, please feel free to sign up for it. I know we're running low on time, so I know. So Nikki, we'll probably just take one more question before closing out, and then what we'll try to do is, Nicole, what we normally do with all the masterclass guest speakers, if there's more questions that we weren't able to get to, we'll send them over to you, and then we always send a synopsis or after the masterclass to those that signed up. And so we can try to address some of the questions that we didn't get to now.
Great.
Right. Is it normal in cyber to be required to sign non-competes, NDAs? Well, I'll let you take that first.
I will actually let you, because I know that there are some industries where, as soon as you walk through the door, it's like, here's your NDA, here is the, non-compete.
Absolutely.
But it also depends on the state you're in. Like an NDA, you're agreeing that you're not going to disclose the company's secrets. Like, as we mentioned, trade secrets are the types of things that are going to be addressed in an NDA, because they want to make sure that when you walk out the door, if you do, hopefully you don't, that you don't walk out with everything that they have and then either go set up your own company or go work for their competitor.
Yep.
As far
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Absolutely. NDAs should just become common practice to safeguard your knowledge that you're providing as well. So if someone is requesting you to come in to do a cyber analysis of their security posture, right? And so they're going to show you their secret sauce. I like the fact that you that you showed that there's a patent, or I gotta go back to my notes, related to like trade secrets, right?
Yes.
To protect everyone involved, right? Like if you're doing a scope, you want to be able just to sign an NDA to say, even for me to look at your information and to provide a high level synopsis or opine on whatever the client is looking for, that you're both in agreement, because you have knowledge too, right? They're bringing you in either to do the coding, or they're bringing you in to do the analysis because they don't have that as well. So it should be common practice to safeguard both entities.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's all we could take.
Okay.
As I was saying, Nicole, I thank you so much. This was one of the first master classes where we had a presentation, and I appreciated every moment of it because I was able to take my notes. But I think there's value in one understanding how cyber integrates with other entities, right? So a lot of times when you think law, you may not think about cyber. I know in some other master classes I talked about privacy, right? So if you're working in the privacy security realm, it's important to contact to have legal counsel when you're doing a cybersecurity privacy review. And so I want to thank you, though, for sharing all the information about intellectual property. I think we're in a phase right now where everyone kind of wants to be their own freelance individual, or they're going to have their own side hustle. And so in order to get there, and in order to truly create generational wealth, and get the knowledge that we may not have had, I thank you for like the gems that you really provided to us. I'm going to ask you as well if there's anyone that wanted to direct mentorship from you, or if they wanted to become a client, if we could reach out to you to connect.
Sure. The best way to reach me is through email. And you'll probably, if you were to send me an email tonight, will get my out of office, even though I'm technically in the office. I was out of the office Monday and Tuesday. And so I am still catching up from the emails that came through.
Good for you.
I just said, like, I'm going to get to you. You're important. You're going to be after a few other people. So yes, email is the best way to get me. I will be caught up hopefully this weekend. But I'm also, like, I think Nikki tagged my Twitter. So I'm also on Twitter, Instagram. I'm trying to be better about posting about legal matters on Twitter. I cannot guarantee, because right now I just don't understand how insurance companies don't cover EpiPens, but that is a different topic for a different day.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Nicole. And thank you all. Again, if you'd like to seek some mentorship, please feel free to send an email. And until the next time, thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye, everyone.